Welcome back to Powerhouse. Well, we're fortunate enough today to be spending the day with Bob Yap, preservationist and old house expert. And Bob, you were just talking with Pete about how in this particular old house, they may not necessarily have to replace their heating and cooling, right?
Right. I mean, there are times you do and times you don't, like we were talking about, but you can do all the heating and air conditioning in the world you want, but if you don't stop the air infiltration and have the right kind of insulation in an old house, it's going to all be for naught because it's going to escape.
That's what I want to talk about, and it's a good thing I want to talk about it because you obviously have a lot of great props.
Oh, you know, I'm into props.
Let's talk about where insulation should go and what types are appropriate.
If you have dry, blown-in insulation in your walls, you'll usually know because you have these little plastic plugs outside where they drill the holes and put the plugs in. You can come on the inside of a plaster wall and install this material. This is a fairly thick fiberglass matting, and back in the early 1900s and up to the mid 1950s, when plaster walls would get little hairline cracks and things, they put canvas over them like wallpaper.
A liner.
And it bridged over all the cracks and it gave them a surface to wallpaper or paint on. Well, this is essentially the same thing. And you paint on the liquid that goes on the wall just with a roller, and it's the glue. And this comes in 4-foot wide sheets. This is just a small sample. And you can put it on the wall.
So you just put it right over the plaster.
Right over the plaster, and it creates an 8 mil vapor barrier on the inside of a plastered wall. And you always do that on the exterior walls. So it's a way. It's not 100% because you still have to go around and caulk all the casings and baseboards, right? But every little thing helps, absolutely. This is a good product. And this is made in Iowa, and that's what's really important.
Okay.
You know, I think. This is another insulation product that's basically that stuff that you can snap and make the little
sure
bubble.
It is.
Yeah, right. And it's got aluminum foil on both sides. This is great for duct work. You want to try to have all your duct work insulated to an somewhere between an R8 and R11.
Space age bubble wrap.
Yeah, it's bubble wrap, essentially.
Okay.
But it's it has aluminum on it. The primary place to insulate in an old house is up in the attic crawl space. And you want to have at least an R38, and up in the upper parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan and all those different places, you can get up as high as an R42 and a little bit higher. So if you come down from the attic where we just talked about the insulation all the way down to the basement, there are these beams or floor joists that hold the floor up, and they rest on the outside perimeter of the foundation.
Right.
In between those floor joists is called the box sill. If you take a rigid foam insulation like this and double it up, this is 6.5 R, so if you double it, you get 13 R, which is really good, and stuff friction fitted up into those box beams above the foundation and caulk around it. That will keep. It's a really bad spot for thermally, but it's also a bad spot for air infiltration, and this will help stop that, which I think is really
great. Now, how does that compare with the visual of
Well, this is an R11, so, and this has the potential in an open basement to attract moisture and those kinds of things, and this won't. So it's a better option for that box sill.
Great. Well, I know that windows are a huge source of air leaks. I live in an old house. There are lots of leaks there. How do we know if our windows are really performing?
Well, first of all, people need to quit freaking out about their windows. If you start to do some weatherization of windows and put on a good storm, an aluminum storm that's extruded with an air gap in the frame, or a wood storm, which I prefer.
They're caulked appropriately.
And they're weather stripped appropriately.
Right.
You have less air infiltration than a new window.
Well, let's talk about old house windows, specifically double hung windows. I've got big, beautiful double hungs. I know in this home there are double hungs.
Yeah.
Explain why those were installed.
They were designed as the first air conditioning system in the world for an old house. The idea is to drop the top sash and raise the bottom sash. Do it equal distance, 3 inches, 3 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. All the hot air and humidity goes out the top gap and cool breezes come in through the bottom, which is a testament to how old houses were designed for airflow. Because they didn't have central air conditioning back in 1890s or 1920s to any extent that homeowners could use it anyway. So
right.
It was your air conditioning system.
Now, I've heard the term U-value. Can you explain to us in real simple terms what is a U-value? And
U-value has to do with windows. The lower the number on U-value, the better. So a typical window has a U-value of about a 5.4, 5.5.
And what does U-value mean?
U-value is how much energy gets through a 1 square foot area of a window in 1 hour.
Great. So when we're talking about windows, that's something really important to keep in mind.
Important.
This is such good information. And you've taught me today that old houses, I knew, old houses and new houses are different animals, but we really need to treat them differently.
We do.
In thinking about efficiency.
That's absolutely true.
Great. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.